What's up guys, it's Eric from Rare Candy and welcome back to another deck and battle here on PTCGO, and today we're going to be taking a look at Buzzwole Lycanroc. So this has been a deck that's been very popular for the past few formats, but actually with the new Forbidden Light set it gains a lot of cool new tricks, and I think is positioned to be one of the top contenders in the early stages of this new format. So let's take a look at the deck and see what makes it tick. So Buzzwole GX is going to be our main attacker. It's that Ultra Beast Pokemon, 190 hit points, has an attack called Jet Punch for just a single fighting energy, does 30 damage, and then 30 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So just a nice little early game attack to start putting on some pressure, and also even though it only does 30, don't forget all of the different damage modifiers that fighting decks do have access to. So we have things like Strong Energy, Beast Energy, Dynasty Prism Star, even Choice Band, so there's all sorts of ways to turn this little 30 damage into a much bigger amount. So definitely don't underestimate how strong Jet Punch actually is. But in the mid to late game, we have some other attacks we can fall back on. We have Knuckle Impact for 3 fighting energy, it does 160, and then this Pokemon can't attack during your next turn. And it also has Absorption GX for the same attack cost. It is 40 for each of your remaining prize cards. So definitely tons of good attacks on Buzzwole for all stages of the game, which makes it, I think, a pretty good card. Now, it is weak to Psychic, so that does mean you might have to maybe watch out for some of these Malamar decks that are popping up. And also, a lot of the decks in the current format have been playing Mew EX and the Mewtwo from Evolutions, so something just to be careful of when you're out there playing with Buzzwole. But Buzzwole, it's our main attacker, but we are still playing a 2-2 Lycanroc GX line. It's going to be the Lycanroc from Guardians Rising. Has the ability Bloodthirsty Eyes. Whenever you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active Pokemon. So this is great. It's basically like the old Lysander card, but as an ability. Just another super aggressive card that pairs really nicely with Buzzwole. Now, Lycanroc does still have some attacks of its own. The main one we're going to be looking at is Dangerous Rogue GX for a fighting and colorless. It does 50 times the amount of bench Pokemon your opponent has in play. So that's going to be, I think, one of the big attacks that I typically find myself using with Lycanroc. Claw Slash we do have as an option, but it's just kind of inferior to Knuckle Impact, so you probably won't find yourself using it too often. But Claw Slash for a fighting DC does 110, so just something to point out. And one thing that is nice about Lycanroc, it does have a different weakness, so if you are playing against some sort of Psychic-based deck, you do have an alternate attacker to kind of focus on instead of your normal Buzzwoles. And it is also worth mentioning, Forbidden Light did give us a 70 HP Rockruff. The other ones that were in play were 50 and 60 hit points, I believe. But yeah, so it has 70 hit points. Doesn't seem like a big deal, but I think it actually does make a difference. If you have 1 energy on your Rockruff, a DCE on a Tapu Lele won't knock you out. Similarly, opposing Buzzwoles won't be able to knock you out quite as easily. So we're playing the Forbidden Light ones here just for that 70 HP boost. Now, I actually do think it is worth potentially running a split between the Corner Rockruff and this new one. I would kind of, if I was going to be playing Buzzwole at an event, I'd probably either play 2 of these, or like I said, the 1-1 split of the Corner Rockruff and this one. But like I said, for the time being, we're just going to use the 70 HP ones and see how they do. Okay, we're also playing a new attacker from Forbidden Light. It's going to be a baby Buzzwole, a non-GX version of Buzzwole. So it's 130 HP Ultra Beast, and we're looking at for its attack Sledgehammer for just a single fighting energy. If your opponent has exactly 4 prize cards remaining, this attack does 30 plus 90 more damage. So you guys initially might look at this card and think, that seems a little situational, and to be fair, it is, but don't sleep on how strong this attack actually is. Just base damage alone, you're hitting for 120, and that's before any of the other damage modifiers that the deck runs. So if you have a Choice Band, you're going to be hitting for 150. If you have a Strong Energy fulfilling your attack cost, that's 170. If you have Dynasty Prism Star in play, that's going to be 190. So we also play a couple of other damage modifiers in here as well, but that combo is not too hard to pull off. It's pretty easy to actually knock out opposing Buzzwoles, or maybe like an opposing Tapu Bulu or a Tapu Lele. A lot of your basic GXs, this Buzzwole can easily take return knockouts on. So don't sleep on how good Sledgehammer actually is. The fact that it's also 30 base damage is pretty good, because even if your opponent has not fulfilled the the 4 prize card limit or whatever, you can still knock out a lot of the basic GXs. basic Pokemon that are in play, like Zoruas or Ralts, etc., with this attack. So definitely a super, super good Pokemon to pivot into once your opponent hits 4 prize cards. And we're also playing a couple of damage modifiers, as you've heard me mention. The big one is going to be Diancie Prism Star, another new card that we got from Forbidden Light. Has this ability, Princess's Cheers. As long as this Pokemon is on your bench, your fighting Pokemon's attacks do 20 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So Buzzwole decks in the past have been playing Regirock, sometimes 1, sometimes 2. But now that we have Diancie Prism Star, you can easily cut a Regirock and just immediately replace it with this card, since it is a strict upgrade to it. It doesn't give up 2 prizes, which is really nice. Now, of course, if Diancie gets knocked out, since it is a Prism Star, it does go into the Lost Zone and you can't get it back. But it's not a big deal. We actually don't even run a Rescue Stretcher or Super Rod in this particular list anyway, so it's basically the same case if our Regirock had been knocked out. It does have an attack, not really too worth going in depth on, but we're mainly just playing it for this ability, Princess's Cheers. Now, even though we are playing Diancie Prism Star, we are still actually playing one Regirock EX as well. Has that Regi Power ability. Your fighting Pokemon's attacks do 10 more damage to your opponent's active, excluding Regirock EX. So just, yet again, another damage modifier that we have access to. They were also playing a 2/2 Octillery line as well. For that Abyssal Hand ability, once during your turn before you attack, you may draw until you have 5 cards in hand. So definitely gives us a lot of good coverage in the late game in case our opponent hits us with an N or something like that. Also just lets us dig a little deeper to pull off combos to get what we need on a given turn. And to round out the Pokemon line, just 2 copies of Tapu Lele for that Wonder Tag ability. So that's the Pokemon line. Actually, a good bit of different Pokemon to go over. Actually, the deck probably looks kind of clunky at a glance, but thanks to Brooklet Hill that we have here in our trainer cards, it actually isn't too hard to get this deck up and running. So once during each player's turn, that player may search their deck for a basic water or basic fighting Pokemon and put it on their bench. So this is going to help us get set up a little bit easier, since everything in our deck outside of Tapu Lele GX is completely searchable by Brooklet Hill. So we're playing 3 of that. Also for our supporters, we're playing kind of a different mix of draw supporters. We're playing 3 Cynthia, 2 N, 3 Sycamore, and then we're trying out 1 Lily here. This is a card I'm just messing around with for the time being. You draw until you have 6 cards in your hand, and if it's your first turn, draw until you have 8. So this is a deck that's really not reliant on Bridget. We would just prefer draw supporters and things like that, just because we want to be a little bit more aggressive than maybe some of like the evolution based decks, and we don't really have a great turn 1 supporter to lean back on. So you know what, I was thinking, let's try out Lily, see how it does. We're also playing 4 copies of Guzma, which is seems like incredibly aggressive, which it is. Between this and the 2 Lycanroc GX, we have plenty of ways to choose what we want to take knockouts on. So switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active, and of course we have to switch as well. And another reason why I like the 4th copy of Guzma is because with Buzzwole GX, when you use Knuckle Impact, you can't use it on the next turn. So that means we do need some sort of switching effect like Guzma if we want to reuse our same Buzzwole's attack. So that's just another reason for the 4th copy of Guzma. So going on to the rest of the trainer cards, not too much, pretty straightforward. We have 4 Ultra Ball, of course. We have 4 Choice Band to increase our damage, 3 Float Stone, since a lot of our Pokemon have awkward retreat cost. But the big star of the show in this list is going to be the new Beast Ring card. So this is a new item card from Forbidden Light. You can only play this card if your opponent has exactly 3 or 4 prize cards remaining, but then you search your deck for 2 basic energies and attach them to one of your Ultra Beasts. So this means once our opponent knocks out our first Buzzwole, we can kind of go crazy and spam this Beast Ring card and just flood our board with energy. So the only downside to Beast Ring as opposed to Max Elixir, which has appeared in these Buzzwole decks in the past, is that you don't have these explosive early turns. A lot of times with Buzzwole in the past, it's not uncommon to see like a turn 2 Absorption GX happen when you have Max Elixir in the mix. So we're kind of in this particular list, we're kind of sacrificing some early game aggression to make sure our mid and late game is really strong with Beast Ring. I do think it's actually worth mentioning. I think playing maybe a split between Beast Ring and Max Elixir is worth trying out. But for right now, I'm trying out just the singular 4 copies of Beast Ring, and we're going to see how that does. And going on to the energy cards, we have, of course, 4 Strong Energy. It can only be attached to fighting Pokemon, but it provides fighting energy, and your fighting Pokemon do 20 more damage to your opponent's active. So one of the best damage modifiers for fighting Pokemon that we have in the format. We also have one copy of the new Beast Energy Prism Star. So another great card for our Buzzwole decks. It only provides a colorless energy by default, but if it's attached to an Ultra Beast, it provides every type of energy, but only one energy at a time. And the Ultra Beast does 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So it's basically a rainbow energy for our Buzzwoles and makes them do 30 more damage. So just all sorts of crazy damage modifiers that we have access to. Definitely not hard to take one-hit knockouts with this deck. And then 8 basic fighting energy to round out the list. So yep, that's going to be the list we're going to try out, guys. Like I said, Buzzwole Lycanroc, I think one of the most hyped old decks going into this new format. So let's switch over to the battle portion of the video and we'll show you how this deck looks in action. Alright guys, so we have ourselves a game here, just going to call it the flip. And we do lose the coin flip, which normally is kind of a bummer, but actually since we're using Buzzwole, it's not even that bad when you have to go second, because we can start jet punching as early as turn 1. So really not that bad. We actually are fortunate enough to start with Buzzwole as well, so I think we're going to be just fine here. Also have a float stone ready to go if for some reason our opponent has like a Guzma or something, so pretty decent opening hand. And our opponent has Espeon EX, so I'm thinking this is probably some sort of a Greninja based deck if I just had to take a guess. And this is actually a situation where I kind of wish we were actually running the Rockruff with corner, just because we could literally just retreat into the corner Rockruff and strand this Espeon in the active spot for the entire game, since Greninja decks typically don't play Guzma these days. So unfortunately we can't win like that, but hey, I guess it's going to at least force us to have a more interesting game here. So our opponent is going to get down a Froakie, and okay, just a pass, so I'm okay with that. And we top deck another Buzzwole, definitely a decent top deck. Going to get down the Floatstone, may as well try to thin our hand a little bit. And here we'll just end. We'll, if we Sycamored, we'd have to get rid of some support, so let's just, hang on to those. Not any real reason to get super aggressive at this point. And not too much else to work with, unfortunately, so here we're just going to have to Jet Punch, going to soften up that Froakie. So I'm sure our opponent is going to be looking for a Frogadier this turn and an energy. That way they can get this, Froakie a few more HP and start to get their other Frogadiers in play. So Frogadier has that Water Duplicates attack. It lets our opponent search their deck for up to, I think, 3 Frogadiers and put them on their bench. So definitely a good start from our opponent. They have the Staryu already as well, so this is starting to get a little bit scary. This is definitely how Greninja wants to go. Typically, Greninja is not this fortunate sometimes, so our opponent's definitely having a decent little game so far. And here we're just going to see a Water Duplicate, so our opponent's starting to get set. But okay, so they only have 1 Frogadier, so that tells me they have some Frogadiers prized, which, I mean, definitely a good thing for us, but super unfortunate for our opponent there. So we get the Rockruff down. Yeah, I think that seems like a good target to get off this Brookwood Hill, just because we want to kind of get these evolutions in play before our opponent can get their Greninja breaks online and start picking off our, low HP basics. And here we can attach, I feel like the strong energy to the active is fine, and we'll just Cynthia. So next turn, even if our opponent has a Greninja, we can just use Knuckle Impact to finish taking a knockout. And we have Ultra Ball as well, so let's see, probably need to get Octillery. So let's get rid of the Ultra Ball and Regirock. I think that's probably the other best target here. That seems good, so we'll grab Octillery. And okay, so we can evolve into that and draw a few extra cards. Let's see what we can get here. And okay, nothing too special, so I guess we can just Jet Punch. And where do we put the extra damage? That's the next big question. I feel like we go for Staryu. That seems good, because our opponent is going to be feeding us these Frogadiers and Greninjas anyways, so they're going to be sending those up to the active spot to get knocked out. I'd rather kind of pick away, at this Starmie or the Staryu for the moment, and gradually, take care of that one as well, because if we can take out Starmie, that's actually going to be a big thing. That's how Greninja is going to recycle all of its energy in the mid to late game, so definitely a Pokemon we want to take out of play. But here our opponent's going for a Tapu Fini, so this actually is kind of annoying, and they have a Field Blower as well. Alrighty, so I'm assuming we're going to see a Tapu Storm GX if our opponent can hit an energy. And our opponent discarded a lot of stuff. Okay, they got rid of 2 Frogadiers. That's interesting. Huh. That's confusing to me. But anyways, because I thought they had 2 prized, but maybe they had one in hand, I guess. But here they're going to evolve into Starmie, so it is going to be out of Jet Punch range for the moment, unfortunately. And okay, so our opponent has a Rescue Stretcher as well, getting back those Frogadiers and Greninjas. And we're going to see a Temper Storm GX shuffling this Buzzwole back into the deck. Kind of annoying because we already had 2 energies. We were threatening a knockout with 1 more attachment. But you know what? I still feel kind of okay about our situation. So here we can bench the Diancie as well, increase our damage output, and here I think we just go for, yeah, I think we go for Lily. But here, let's Abyssal Hand first before we decide what to do. We actually get a Fighting Energy, so we actually do have some options here as far as what we want to do for this turn. So we're definitely going to attach to Buzzwole, and I'm just trying to think, we could Guzma and try to strand something in the active spot. I actually kind of like that play. But at the same time, if we attack into the Tapu Fini, we can actually put it, I think, within 2-shot range. So I think this is going to be okay as well. Maybe the Guzma play actually would have been better in hindsight, just because it would have prevented our opponent from being able to attack with a Greninja. So yeah, maybe in hindsight that would have been a little bit better. But nevertheless, I think it's actually still okay. We're definitely softening up this Tapu Fini pretty well here. And just a little disclaimer, guys, this is actually, believe it or not, my first time ever playing Buzzwole Lycanroc. It's never been a deck that has really interested me in terms of its play style, so I'm not the most familiar with it, and I might have a couple of little suboptimal plays here and there, so I hope you can excuse that. But I wanted to put my personal biases aside for this video and still test it out and show it off to you guys with these new cards. But anyways, back to the battle. Let's see what our opponent's doing. They have a Greninja Break here. And now I'm kind of regretting not going for that Guzma play, because now our opponent's in a position where they can Giant Water Shuriken and attack us. And it looks like they're going to get rid of a Cyrus. That's a card I'm happy to see go into the Lost Zone there. And so we can see our opponent making use of that Starmie and getting back some energy for our opponent. So we're going to see a Giant Water Shuriken coming down. And a Moonlight Slash. So yeah, they're definitely going to soften up this Buzzwole a good bit here. So I'm starting to regret going for that Lily play instead of the Guzma last turn. So, alright, so we definitely need to play down our hand. That way we can draw some cards with Octillery. So what do we do though? That's the question here. We can't really afford to, I think, go for the Guzma on the Tapu Fini. Just because if they get a Choice Band, they can actually knock us out, so we can't bring that up. I think we bring up the Froakie, actually. I think that's going to be our play here. So what we can do is, of course, promote this Octillery, then well, let's Abyssal Hand first. Okay, so we get another Guzma, not a terrible card to have, I suppose. And now we can Jet Punch, and this is actually really important because we're stranding this Froakie in the active spot, and we're going to take out this Starmie, which is also really big here. Because our opponent's already used a Rescue Stretcher, so it's safe to assume Starmie will not be coming back in play. And now our opponent's in a position where, at the most, they can Giant Water Shuriken this turn, but that's going to be about it. So they are going to have to, it looks like, attach a Splash Energy to Froakie and retreat. And now they're going to use Giant Water Shuriken. Yes, they will take a knockout on this Buzzwole, to be fair, but now they are going to be, in kind of a tricky spot, though, because they're not going to be able to keep getting back their energy, and now they've activated B-String. Oh, but our opponent has the Field Blower. That's actually really rough. Okay. Ooh, and actually we top deck Brooklyn Hill. That's definitely a really good top deck here. So we definitely want to use that. And yeah, we could go for the Baby Buzzwole, but I don't think we're going to be able to take a one-hit knockout with it. So, well, I mean, unless we were to Guzma up like one of our opponent's other Pokemon like Espeon or something like that. But I think we actually just go for the regular Buzzwole GX here. So what we can do is we can attach and start using some B-strings and power this guy up. So let's go ahead and use B-string. And okay, we only have, let's see, one more energy in the deck. So what we could do is, yeah, I think we go for the Guzma actually. I'm trying to think, do we attach to this Buzzwole? I feel like it's safe if we do, but we could also attach to the Rockruff and start to power up that guy in preparation for a Lycanroc GX. And okay, ooh, we actually still have access to Abyssal Hands. So actually, we might hold off on the attachment. Well, yeah, I'm just trying to think. If we can get a Buzzwole, that'd be nice because then we could play another Beast Ring and start to get some energy on that guy. Okay, so unfortunately we did not get a Buzzwole, so now I'm kind of regretting attaching the extra energy to the Rockruff, but not a big deal. Our Buzzwole GX is still 1 energy away from being at full power, and right now we don't even really want to use Knuckle Impact, just want to use Jet Punch, and this is actually really important. We're only doing 50 to this Froakie for the same reason like I mentioned earlier. It's going to strand it in the active spot, and that's going to allow us to kind of snipe our opponent's board a little bit. And so now what we can do is, if we can just use maybe Lycanroc to bring up this Tapu Fini, we can actually Jet Punch our way to victory here. So, okay, first let's use Brookwood Hill. Just gonna thin this Buzzwole out of the deck. And, oh, we still have access to Beast Ring as well, forgot about that, so we can go ahead and play that. And we'll do that. Actually, no, wait, we won't be able to go for that Fini play. We would also need Choice Band in addition to the Strong Energy, I believe. Because that'd be, what, 50? Yeah, we'd only be doing 70, so. So yeah, let's, we might not be able to go for that play. And, okay, yeah, we didn't get the Choice Band, so kind of worked out. So what we can do is we can evolve into Lycanroc, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to bring up Espeon EX. I think I like that play since it's probably the smallest threat on our opponent's side of the field. And what we can do is, well, I guess we should play the other Beast Ring. We may as well. Oh wait, we don't have any more basic energy, so that's not fun. But nevertheless, our board's already pretty set up. We just need one more energy if we want to Knuckle Impact. But what we can do is, strand this Espeon in the active spot, picking off that Froakie, and now this Espeon is just basically one more attack away from being our final knockout that we need to win the game. But here our opponent just passes, and we're going to be able to take a knockout on this Espeon EX to wrap up the game. So we can just use Knuckle Impact, taking a knockout on Espeon for 210 damage, and we are going to win against Greninja. So that game definitely went pretty well for us, but let's head over to another one and see what we can make happen. Yet again, we lose the coin flip, but like I mentioned earlier, not the worst thing in the world since we are playing a Buzzwole deck. But ouch, this hand is not the best. I mean, we do have Ultra Ball, so that means we can get Tapu Lele, of course, to bail us out, but definitely not an ideal hand. And here our opponent has a Froakie, and it's the 70 HP one, so that leads me to believe this might be Greninja GX, actually. And we're seeing Diancie and Regirock, so I'm assuming this is going to be Buzzwole Greninja GX. Buzzwole GX is a main attacker, and then Greninja just to, help add some additional damage. So kind of a Buzzwole mirror match of sorts. Though, I have the Lycanroc, so I can take a big knockout with Dangerous Rogue if need be. But let's see, it's kind of an awkward hand. We have a ton of energy. I don't really want to discard a lot of it, just because, we want to be able to play Beast Ring in the mid game and kind of go crazy. So I think getting rid of Guzma is going to be the better play here. So that seems good. We can grab ourselves a Buzzwole GX. We can attach an energy and then play Lily, and since it's our first turn, we can actually draw until we have 8, which is pretty big. We just need a Floatstone. And we whiffed the Floatstone, unfortunately, but nevertheless, no, we're still doing okay. We have the Octillery ready to go for next turn. We can get a Rockruff in play as well. Definitely want to get Rockruff out too before all these Frogadiers and Greninjas start going crazy and picking off these low HP basics. But from there, we'll just pass over to our opponent. Like I said, we did with the Floatstone, but overall, not a half bad turn. But here our opponent has an Octillery of their own. I know they're also going to be searching for a Floatstone to get this Regirock out of the active spot, or a Guzma or something like that as well. And here we see another Froakie hitting the board. Now the downside to this is our opponent's bench is a little bit clogged at this point. They only have the one Buzzwole, so if we can actually successfully take this thing out, we're going to be in a good spot. It's going to be a couple turns before our opponent can kind of respond. Now, one thing I'm wondering about is, does our opponent play like Rainbow Energy or any way to actually attack with Greninja GX? That is another thing I'm going to be wondering here. If so, then they do have another attacker they can pivot into, but I'm leaning to believe that they probably don't play any water energy. So they are going to use that Frogadier, put 2 damage counters on our Buzzwole, but they do whiff the Floatstone for themselves too, so really happy about that. And here, what do we do? Definitely want to Brookwood Hill. I think we probably just get out a second Buzzwole, just in case our opponent kind of goes crazy and knocks out our Buzzwole. I don't know if they're playing Max Elixir or if they're just playing like Beast Rings, so I think we should probably just grab another Buzzwole GX here. We could grab the baby one for the same purpose in case we do have our Buzzwole GX get knocked out, but I feel like that one's better, kind of with the element of surprise. I think it's just a little bit safer going for the Buzzwole GX, also just in case our opponent maybe you know, takes a 1 prize knockout and goes to 3 prizes, we won't be able to make use of Sledgehammer. So yeah, let's just grab that regular Buzzwole GX, and I think maybe we attach to Rockruff. I kind of like that. We're starting to threaten a dangerous Rogue GX. What we can do here is we're going to Guzma, bringing up this Frogadier. Even though it only has a 1 retreat cost, I really don't mind too much, just because we're going to do 50 damage to it. And basically, if our opponent does not evolve into a Greninja GX with it, 1 more Jet Punch will actually knock it out. And even though Buzzwole is our opponent's main attacker, and you know, it's the biggest threat, I don't want to put the bench damage on it just because we're probably going to use a dangerous rogue to take it out. So no point in putting, you know, excess damage that's not going to really matter for anything. Rather just kind of spread our damage around and start to pick off some stuff on the bench. So here it looks like our opponent's going to go for a Jet Punch. Let's see what they decide to go for here. Maybe get some damage on this Rockruff. I think that's probably the biggest threat looming for our opponent. So definitely a good choice from them there. And we do get a Choice Band, so what do we do? What do we do? We can, I guess we should Brooklet Hill first just to thin another Pokemon out of the deck. So we could go for a second Rockruff in case we use Lycanroc, but we could just get the baby Buzzwole too, just to kind of you know, spread around our potential attackers. But here what we can do is, because I kind of want to go for another Jet Punch before we go for this big Lycanroc play. I want to take out this Frogadier before it becomes a Greninja GX. So yeah, if we attach to this Rockruff, if we hit Lycanroc, we can actually take a knockout, but okay, so we don't. So basically, I was just kind of giving myself an extra play at my disposal. If we hit the Lycanroc, we could go ahead and take out the Buzzwole, but if not, we could just retreat the Rockruff like we just did, and still go for this Jet Punch play. So here we're going to soften up this Regirock EX and do 80, and then take out that Frogadier that was kind of looming back on our opponent's bench. So let's see how they're going to respond. They're definitely going to need a Floatstone or, of course, a Guzma or something like that. But, of course, if they have Guzma, they won't be able to knock out this Buzzwole GX. But at the same time, they could just go for an Absorption GX if they get an attachment and a Guzma. Okay, so they are going to attach to a Rockruff instead. So they're kind of threatening a dangerous rogue of their own. It's kind of interesting. They're playing Greninja, Octillery, Rockruff, and Buzzwole. So kind of a interesting deck they have going on there. A lot of different moving pieces in it. And here our opponent is going to bring up this Octillery and kind of like take a play out of our book where they're just trying to stall and keep like these awkward Pokemon in the active spot. So what do we do here? I feel like we evolve into Lycanroc GX. I think we just have to, just in case of another Jet Punch or another Frogadier. Question is, do we actually change what our opponent's active is? And I feel like we don't. Like, I kind of want to take out the Rockruff, but at the same time, this Buzzwole is equally as big of a threat, just because it's 1 energy away from using Absorption GX. So I think we just leave it active. I think that seems best. And so I feel like, yeah, we definitely attach that Fighting Energy. Yeah, I think we just throw it on Lycanroc here. That seems good. And then we just Sycamore. We really need to hit that Floatstone. And we do not hit it. Okay, so I believe we still have access to Abyssal Hand, though, so that is one thing that's nice. And so we can Ultra Ball. but I don't know how many cards we would actually get. Oh, we would get 2, so maybe that was a misplay, guys. Not going and digging for that float stone a little bit more. So, I don't know, maybe I played a little too defensively that turn, because we could have actually Ultra Balled, gotten rid of the Ultra Ball and the Beast Ring, and tried to draw an extra 2 cards. Not sure if we would have hit it, but maybe that was the correct play, I'm not sure. Yeah, probably so. We haven't even gone through even a single float stone yet, so I definitely think we should have done that, my bad. Pure opponent's going to go for an N, I don't mind that, and okay, we get a bunch of Beast Rings, so... And our opponent's going to go for a Jet Punch. I guess they whiffed the energy they needed to take a knockout with Buzzwole, so that is definitely going to be good for us. Now, unfortunately, our Octillery is going to go down, but we do still have another Remoraid in the deck. So let's see, I think we get a Fighting Energy down on the fresh Buzzwole GX. I think that seems like the play. I don't think we can attack with the baby one because, yeah, we need exactly 4 prizes, and our opponent's on odd prizes now, so more than likely that is not going to be the case for the rest of the game here. So we can maybe get this Floatstone down on the Diancie just to thin it out of our hand, make sure we don't draw back into it, and we still have 2 others. And let's also Brookwood Hill first, that way we don't draw into the actual Remoraid that we need, so that seems good. Okay, so I actually don't mind this hand. Even if our opponent takes a knockout next turn, we have Beast Ring ready to go. We have Ultra Ball to grab Octillery, so I think we're going to be in a fine spot. So here we're going to take out this Buzzwole GX, finally, and going to go down to 3 prizes here. I'd imagine we'll probably see a Dangerous Rogue from our opponent, but honestly, I'm not even worried about it, just because if they do go that route, we have Beast Ring ready to go. We have this Buzzwole GX that can easily just knock them out with a Knuckle Impact. So let's see what our opponent's going to grab. Maybe a a Frogadier to get some more damage in play. Oh, but they are going to fail it, so maybe they have some Pokemon prized here. Because I'd imagine they would just go for the Frogadier if it was in the deck, just to get some more damage on the field. And okay, so we're actually just going to see a retreat and going into a Jet Punch here. Going to knock out the Lycanroc GX and start to threaten a knockout on this Remoraid as well. Seems like a good choice for them. That'll put them down at even prizes again if they are able to take it out. But unfortunately for them, I do have the Octillery in deck, which we're going to get out. But here, we're going to Beast Ring and yeah, power up this Buzzwole here. Going to Ultra Ball, getting rid of the Ultra Ball, and I think the Brookwood Hill, that seems good. Going for Octillery, just trying to see what else do we have in there. So we'll do that, and what I'd like to do is actually Knuckle Impact this Lycanroc. That's going to be, I feel like that's what we kind of need to do here. So just going to double check my deck. We do have a Guzma in there, so let's see if we can hit it, because I think we're going to need that. So unfortunately, we did not get it, and I think our other Lele is actually prized, if I remember correctly. Well, let's check. So we can get rid of the Sycamore. Yeah, and unfortunately, our other Lele is prized, but that's okay. We will make do. We'll just play the end here. I'm not really worried about going down to 3 cards, just because we have Octillery, and our opponent had a pretty massive hand. Here we have Beast Ring, so that's actually really nice, because even if our opponent knocks out this Buzzwole that we're going to attack with, we're going to be in a good spot to just attach 1 more energy and have another Knuckle Impact for next turn. So yeah, we can just do Knuckle Impact. That's plenty enough damage to take a knockout on this guy. So we're going to get a Buzzwole and a Cynthia. Okay, good. So we have a Draw Supporter. Even if our opponent does take a knockout on this Octillery, we're going to be good to go. So our opponent's going to use Brookwood Hill, getting a fresh Buzzwole. Not really sure how much good that's going to do him at this point. We have 2 Knuckle Impacts that are just kind of sitting here being threatened. So what they need to do is probably just Dangerous Rogue this Buzzwole. I think that's really their only play that they have access to right now. If they can Field Blower... Oh, okay. So maybe they're going for the Jet Punch play. Like, just trying to stall us out. I think kind of like their win condition was getting a Field Blower, if they have one, Okay, they have a Frogadier. Interesting. Not sure if the damage matters too much at this point. Okay, I see what they're going for here. But I was going to say, if they could have gotten a Field Blower, Energy Attachment on Lycanroc in the end of one, I think that would have been their potential win condition. But I don't know if they're going to get that lucky at this point. So here we have Choice Band. I guess we throw Choice Band actually on Octillery in case we hit the Float Stone. And let's see, can we get it? And we get the Float Stone, and we have B-String as well. We can play it just for the heck of it. And ooh, let's actually go for Beast Energy. Let's see how much damage we can actually do, and we hit it. So that's nice. So let's see how much damage we can actually manage to do to this Buzzwole here. So a whopping 260, definitively a knockout there. And here we take the match against the Buzzwole Greninja Lycanroc deck. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this updated look at Buzzwole Lycanroc. There's actually a couple different versions of this deck that I want to play around with, but I hope you enjoyed the look at this list that we had here in this video. But as usual, feel free to like and subscribe, and if you guys can support this channel by becoming a patron over at patreon.com/rarecandytcg, or by picking up something from our online store at rarecandytcg.com, it would mean a lot. But with that, I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you for the next one.